Hello, everybody. Jason of New Age Revolution Cave. It is Saturday. It is Christmas Eve. That's right. That's what we call it. Christmas Eve. The day before Christmas Eve, which is the day before Christmas. For those of you scoring at home, or for those who are by yourselves. It's wrestling with the past. As I continue to do every day of my life, I wrestle with the past, but this is the official Wrestling with the Past, the show. And we're back into championship wrestling. We did a couple of house shows, last couple videos, and now we're back to championship wrestling. The flagship Saturday morning show that we all grew up with and loved deeply. Championship Wrestling, March 23rd, 1985, if you can do the math. We are 1 week away, 1 week and a day away from WrestleMania 1, the granddaddy of them all. Championship Wrestling, Saturday, March 23rd, 1985, starts off, of course, with Vince and Bruno in their sharp outfits, running down the show. I usually skip the rundown. I usually fast forward through it because I kind of don't want to hear what's coming. And I do that with house shows too. And I also would do it. I don't think I'd do it because you couldn't fast forward. But Saturday night's main event, I didn't love how they would tell you all the matches. I wanted to be surprised. So I definitely fast forward through the first few like minute and a half of a house show because they practically run down the whole card. And I hate that. I want to be surprised. So I fast forward through the opening of Championship Wrestling. We get Junkyard Dog versus Mr. X. We've been seeing a lot of Mr. X lately. 2 house shows in a row he was at. And he'll be at WrestleMania. Well, that's the Executioner. But, still, what's the difference? Mr. X, the Executioner. Probably a different guy under the mask for this Championship Wrestling episode. I always notice these funny little things. Mr. X, Howard Finkel was always in charge of pointing the wrestler to the hard camera during his introduction so he could pose to the camera. And you always would see him like motioning to the front of the camera very subtly. Mr. X, during his introduction, turns around completely and faces his back to the hard camera. And Finkel's looking at him. And it's out of Finkel's reach at this point. The Fink can do nothing about it. He just gives up on it. But he's looking back the whole time and forget it. Mr. X is facing the wrong side. Little things like that just entertain me. Junkyard Dog comes out. I've said this a million times. Junkyard Dog is so over. He is so over with the crowd. The crowd, I don't know if it's the queen, another one bites the dust. It's the dancing. Honestly, I think it's his race at the time that has him over so huge. And he comes to the ring and the crowd is going nuts. And he is just eating it up for the first 2 or 3 minutes. The song is playing. He's going around the ring. He is just super over. I always liked Junkyard Dog's TV matches. They're always so lighthearted and fun. He plays to the crowd. He plays with the opponent. He does which I don't like, but he does the on all fours headbutt, the ramming headbutt that knocks, but it's always just so fun. And of course he wins. He always, he wins with the thumb. But there was a sign in the audience that I caught, and I'll show you here. Talk about lighthearted and fun. Talk about a different time. Talk about a better time. Look at this sign. JYD Grrr. Okay? JYD Grrr. How pleasant is that? How innocent is that? How fun. Love that. So a couple of weeks ago, we saw Junkyard Dog dancing outside the ring. And then a couple of weeks ago, he pulled a kid over the barrier and would dance outside the ring with them. Well, this time he brings in a kid. And he starts to dance with this kid in the ring. The kid's a little older. He's probably 11 or so. And then a second kid gets in the ring and they start break dancing and they dominate the entire segment and blow everybody's mind. I don't know if JYD knew this was going to happen or not, but he brings this kid in, and the kid knows how to break dance. He's doing all this break dancing. Then another kid comes in, he break dances. Now they go to the JYD pulls him to the middle of the ring so the camera sees everything, and they're doing head spins and they're doing whatever the back spin thing is. These kids were killing it. They become instant celebrities, these two kids. Instant popularity at school, instant girlfriends. Bam, you're on national TV break dancing like experts in the ring with the Junkyard Dog. Incredible stuff. We have an update on Andre putting up his career at WrestleMania. So it's all stuff that we've seen. Andre on TNT jacking up McMahon, Andre being goaded into putting his career on the line at WrestleMania if he cannot slam Big John Studd. So again, that's great. More hype towards WrestleMania. Perfectly fine. We've got Brutus Beefcake against Big Joe Myrto. And the beefer attacks before the bell because Joe Myrto is being distracted by Johnny V. And it's funny, Myrto's kind of going after Johnny V. Beefcake attacks him from the side, knocks him down, and then Johnny V real quick gets a kick, puts the boots to Joe Myrto real quick. So Beefcake early on, pounding up Joe Myrto. Joe Myrto comes back, actually gets a body slam on Beefcake, which is nice to see. That gets Vince and the crowd popping their brains as if Myrto has a chance. Go back, you've seen it, but go back and watch these old Saturday morning shows, Superstar versus Jobber, and whenever the job guy would get in a tiny bit of offense, McMahon would go insane. And the crowd would go insane. They just loved to see this. So Joe Myrto gets his little favor from Beefcake, gets a body slam. Vince is hyping the Bruno versus David Beefcake versus David Sammartino WrestleMania match, which I'm kind of looking forward to seeing. I know that both, Johnny V and Bruno get involved at the end, but I'm kind of looking forward to that match a little bit, look an undercard match. Beefcake with a devastating knee lift to end it. I love the knee lift. I do. It's the running knee, and it's so good. And it just, if the opponent sells it right, it looks like he just ran into a tree. It's just bam, and then the opponent just goes down hard. And, Beefcake looks great doing it. I just love that move. We've got Mean Gene hyping the upcoming Boston Garden show. And the main event for the Boston Garden show was Hogan versus Morocco. And I've yet to see a Hogan-Morocco match. And I would like to. I don't have this Boston house show. Hopefully I can catch one on some of the house shows remaining in April. We had Wendy Richter on last week, and now to continue hyping the Richter versus Leilani Kai match, we've got Leilani Kai versus Susan Starr. So the WWF Women's Champion Leilani Kai, of course, accompanied to the ring by Moolah. And I've always said Moolah reminds me of my grandmother so much. My grandma was that size. My grandma had that kind of hair, just body type. I mean, it just reminds me of my grandma. Back and forth ladies 1985 match with lots of hair snapmares. The ladies like to do that, grab the hair and do the snapmare, but they do it in succession. So there's like 4 of them in a row, just holding onto the hair, pulling her back up, doing the snapmare, pulling her back up, flipping her over. It's just like this 4 or 5 hair mares in a row. Of course, we get some Moolah involvement. She's putting the chokes, putting the screws to Susan Starr outside the ring. Leilani Kai wins it when Susan Starr whips her into the turnbuckle. Very telegraphed, as Bruno would say, as Gorilla would say also. Telegraphs the move. Now, what does that mean, folks? What does that mean, 80s wrestling fans? What does it mean to telegraph a move? It means to wait too long to accomplish the move. It gives your opponent some time to collect themselves and realize what you're doing. So Susan Starr whips Leilani Kai into the ring, into the turnbuckle. She goes charging, but only after telegraphing it for a while, waiting too long. Then she goes charging in, and Leilani Kai lifts up her knees, boom, catches Susan Starr. And then Leilani Kai does the dumbest thing, like not dumb, but just silly. She instead of just grabbing the pinfall, she goes over to a prone Susan Starr and does this very abbreviated splash, just kind of like boom, just flops down on Susan Starr to get the 3 count and the win, of course. Then we get another Boston interview, this time with Hulk Hogan talking about his match with Don Morocco. Now, this particular match had Mr. T in Hogan's corner. So, I didn't know that that Mr. T played, a little bit of a role besides what we saw on television. So, according to this update, this interview, Mr. T is in the corner of Hulk Hogan tonight against Don Morocco, and I assume got involved to some degree. For the last couple of weeks, I've been enjoying some David Sammartino matches. Well, now that kind of takes a step back here this week on Championship Wrestling. We've got David Sammartino versus a fella named Bob Wade. I think it's the first time I've seen Bob Wade. Right off the bat, David Sammartino kills Bob Wade with a back suplex, a belly to German suplex. Kills him. David does not. There's no lockup. There's no circle each other in the ring. David just grabs him immediately, back suplexes him. Bob Wade lands horribly on his neck and has to be dead. I think the rest of the match was probably just nerves. Like, you're dead and your nerves are kind of twitching. I think Bob Wade is actually dead as a result of this. Kills him. Vince sells it, but nobody else checks on Bob Wade. The referee does not check on Bob Wade. David Sammartino kind of looks at the referee. Referee does not, compared to today, how guys bruise their pinky and the referee is down there, talking to him, you okay? Is your pinky okay? Just pinch my, are you okay? Okay. Everybody's nobody checks on Bob Wade and his half decapitated head. Bob Wade jumps right back up after kind of like holding his neck. He kind of jumps up, which makes me think maybe he was knocked out for a moment and then, kind of snaps to. But he jumps right up and goes right into a lockup with David Sammartino. Vince made me laugh. Vince said that Bob Wade will be feeling that for the next 567 years. And I laughed because that's funny. Wade, obviously now either deceased or with a broken neck, then gets press slammed by David Sammartino. And instead of, kind of pushed over, kind of helped over, David launches him. And Bob Wade lands on his neck. Bob Wade does not get all the way around because it's not a lead press slam. It's a pushed press slam. So we're hoping that David Sammartino has enough strength to push a large Bob Wade, 260 pounds probably, up into a flip. Doesn't happen. Bob Wade lands on his head and neck again. So now Bob Wade is double dead, and just brutalized in this match. David Sammartino gets a power slam and it's over. Now, at the very end, it does appear that David Sammartino says something to Bob Wade as he's getting off of him for the pin, as he gets off from the 3 count. Holy cow. What on earth? And the crazy part is nobody seemed to care about Bob Wade. Nobody was checking on him. No referee involvement. And it's 1985, and I guess that's the way it went. But, wow. We got Rick Savage. Sorry, D-Mod, few months away, not yet. Rick Savage, the long-lost cousin of Randy Savage. Rick Savage, first-timer, I haven't seen him. He takes on Tito Santana. Rick Savage gets a few punches in on Tito. That's about it. Santana takes over. Nice clotheslines from Tito. Nice drop kick from Tito. The figure 4 wins this one because Rick Savage botched the flying forearm. Tito goes for the flying forearm and was probably going to get the pin, but Rick Savage turns around and Santana hits him in the back of the head, like in the back of it hits him in the back, and it just looked bad. And Rick Savage doesn't really fall properly, as if he's knocked out. It was just it was a dopey looking move on Rick Savage's part. So then Tito calls an audible, and then he slaps on the figure 4 and gets the win. Very interesting there. We have a recap of the Piper's Pit from MSG with Mr. T. I won't bore you with that. It was at the last MSG show. Great live Piper's Pit, really pushing WrestleMania. And the show ends with Jim Powers and Tony Gurria taking on Sheik and Volkov. Tons of offense for the good guys in this one. And it's a great tag team. I mean, Tony Gurria and Jim Powers. Jim Powers is not quite yet the Jim Powers that he becomes in like 86 and 87. He's still just good looking job guy. Not a lot of offense. Tony Gurria is obviously, a little bit of more of a mid-carder. So the good guys get a ton of offense. Nikolai, the power man, seems to settle things down. When Nikolai gets in the ring, the offense for the good guys pretty much stops. When Nikolai gets in there, it's a few more minutes, and then we progress to the awkward Nikolai press slam. If you haven't seen this, Nikolai has his opponent's neck, for one thing, and then has his trunks from the back. So he's holding his trunks, and he uses the trunks and his head to push the opponent up to the press slam. So it's not a press slam. It's a he's up on Nikolai's head, and the super atomic wedgie is going, and then from there Nikolai drops them down onto the knee for the backbreaker. But it is such an awkward looking move. It's all trunks, it's all throat, and Nikolai's using his head. Then we close it out with another Boston Garden interview, and that's it. That's a very easy, simple Championship Wrestling, March 23rd, 1985. We have a all-star wrestling show to go from Canada. Then I think we have a TNT. Then we have the Saturday before WrestleMania, the 30th, and then we have WrestleMania. So we're a few episodes away from WrestleMania, and I'm going to do 2 this week. I'm going to do today's, and then I'm going to probably do one next week, another Wrestling with the Past, just to get it going. I think on Tuesday when I do, hey, want to play some Nintendo, I think I'll add a Wrestling with the Past so I want to get to WrestleMania. I really do. So that's that. We'll see y'all next time. Good night now.